Like the United States in 2016, Brazilians face the specter of an authoritarian presidential candidate. So a couple of research assistants at Harvard helped me do some research on Bolsonaro, and we applied our litmus test to Bolsonaro. Here are the results. Indicator number one, does he reject democratic rules of the game? Throughout his career, as far as we can tell, going back to the 1980s, Bolsonaro has praised the military dictatorship and challenged the legitimacy of the post-1985 democracy. In 1993, he declared, "I am for dictatorship," called for the closure of Congress. More recently, Bolsonaro declared that what happened in 1964 was not a coup. He promised a Chavista-like packing of the Supreme Court, and he questioned the legitimacy of Brazil's electoral system, calling it rigged. He just named as his vice presidential candidate a general who at various points has signaled his openness to a military coup. Indicator number two, toleration or encouragement of violence. In 1998, Bolsonaro said the military should have killed 30,000 people. He's encouraged the extrajudicial police killing of suspected criminals. He has embraced death squads in Rio de Janeiro. He's justified the extrajudicial killing of 19 farm workers in Pará in 1996. Indicator number three, denying the legitimacy of one's partisan rivals. Bolsonaro has called President Cardoso a corrupto, who should have been killed during the dictatorship. He calls Lula a criminal, wants to imprison him, and says he, if in government, will treat the MST as terrorists. Indicator number four, a willingness to curtail the civil liberties of opponents. Bolsonaro has repeatedly endorsed the use of torture and extrajudicial killing, including against leftist politicians and activists. So Bolsonaro is a thoroughly authoritarian figure. That distinguishes him from all of his rivals, all of his major rivals in the 2018 presidential race. My host also requested that I do a little research on these other candidates, and we did. None of them show up on this list. Center-left politicians, even corrupt ones, do not generally threaten democracy. Authoritarian candidates do threaten democracy. Brazil may be headed to one of those critical moments that Linz wrote about, when political and economic elites may have to choose, may be forced to choose between their short-term political and policy goals and the long-term defense of democratic institutions. And the overwhelming lesson of my research is that Brazilian elites should resist the temptation to back Bolsonaro under any circumstance, under any second-round scenario you can imagine. I worry a lot that business leaders will decide that Bolsonaro is worth the risk because of the economic policies that Paulo Guedes can deliver, or maybe because it's just better than having to deal with a government led by Ciro or Haddad. This is the historic mistake that Italian liberals made. It's the mistake that German conservatives make. It's the mistake that U.S. Republicans are making today.